We are so pleased to be here today with Richard Osman, one of our favorite authors of the sleuthing books, The Thursday Murder Club, The Man Who Died Twice, and out just this week, The Bullet Which Missed. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we are both huge fans of this series, and we've done several episodes on our podcast already about both of the books that are already out. So the Thursday Murder Club, for those who don't know, is a series of books where a group of senior citizens fill their time in their retirement communities with solving murders. Why did you choose this demographic to be your main set of characters?
It came from real life, really. My mum lives in a retirement community in England, the south of England, and I would go and visit a lot. And firstly, it's very, very beautiful. Perfect place to here. And secondly, the people who lived there in their 70s, they've done such interesting things in their lives, and they've gathered together such wisdom that the moment I thought this would be a good place for a murder, I thought, well, you lot would solve it. You couldn't have a better combination for a detective than being invisible but very, very wise, and that's what these people are. So that's the idea behind it. You just four very unlikely friends in their 70s, being sort of set almost impossible mysteries to solve, and it seems to be a formula that's worked so far, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. What does your mom think of this series then, since it's that's kind of where the idea came from?
Well, yeah. Well, when I first told us, I sort of kept it secret. When I sort of got to the end, I thought I probably should tell her I'm writing this. When I said I'm writing something set, it's not exactly where she lives, but it's pretty much. I think she was terrified. And the first time she saw the first draft, for legal reasons, she literally just went, "Is anybody here real name or real life story or anything like that?" And of course, I haven't. It's entirely a fiction. And then she was able to read it again. But that whole community. Obviously knew about the books, and they love it. It's so lovely filming a report for the Bullet That Missed coming out, and the success of the previous books, and everybody there now pitches me stories. And so genuinely they're called Peggy and Sue. Okay, Sue is, there's a concert hall here, and they're trying to convert it into apartments, and that would be a good plot, wouldn't it? You can imagine a plot there. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I obviously wasn't enthusiastic enough, because Peggy, there's also a balcony in the concert hall. And I'm like, there we go. Now we've got a plot. So I would say they're embracing it fully. Is what they're doing in that community.
That's so funny. I love that, because my mother-in-law also lives in such a similar community, and just the way they talk. It's about each other, about everything, about each other's kids. It is just such a unique but amazing setting.
But isn't it an amazing? But it really is, and it's so. There's so much gossip and so much politics.
Yes.
And listen, and they start drinking at about 11:30 in the morning. They're used to some of those, right? And some of them, like my mum was a primary school teacher. She's used to sort of keeping people in line, and so it's such a brutal part of, because everyone who reads it wants to live there. They want to live there as well. And having four people in their 70s as the hero in this world where we're sort of bombarded by 25-year-old Instagrammers, this group of people with flaws and frailties, but with senses, it's such a treat.
It really is. We love him. Everything.
So what has been the most challenging part about bringing these characters to life?
That's a good question. I mean, writing a book is really hard. That's for sure. The physical act of actually, it's the mental equivalent of running a marathon, I think. Anyone who's listening to this and is sitting and writing at the moment knows it's just difficult, And the key difficulty is to convince yourself that anyone's going to read what you're writing. That you've got any right to sort of tell this story, to tell your story. And certainly, with the first book, of course, I'm thinking, who on earth am I to tell this story? Who's going to want to read this? Because I'm just sitting here and writing words down, and it feels very, very alien. So, sort of suspending your own disbelief, I think, is the hardest part of writing a novel. Just that thing of just saying, look, there will be a voice that tells you to stop all the time. every day, every page, there'll be a voice saying, no, don't bother. This is no good. Also, no one needs to read it. Who do you think you are trying to write a book? And if you can just fight that voice off long enough to get 30,000 words done or something, then I think that's when you start thinking, okay, I'm just going to finish this. So getting the first draft of the first book done, that's the trick. Get 90,000 words done. Doesn't matter if it's terrible. No one's ever going to see this first draft, ever. To just get it done. And weirdly, when it exists with a beginning, a middle, and an end, the process, the task becomes much easier, because then you're just changing things and sort of, tightening bits up and losing bits and adding bits. But the fact it exists, there's something about it which means, you know what? I've written a book. I've done it. I've done the thing. Now my job is different, which is how do I make this book good? But just get the thing done, get that first draft done, and never show anybody.
Is it I don't know if you can really compare the two, but if it's apples and oranges, but is TV or writing, which one is easier and more of a passion for you?
TV is much easier because there's an immediate bang for your buck. In terms of, if I have a TV idea, like a format, I can write it up today, I can set it tomorrow, and I could be making it in a month's time. When I record a TV show, it will go out tomorrow and I'll get feedback and people will tell me what they think. With a book, it's like cooking a banquet. It's like no one's even going to see this for like a year and a half. You're going to have to sit down every day with no feedback at all. And nobody is going to give you no one's going to tell you, you're going to get no acclaim, you're going to get no feedback, you're going to get nothing for a year and a half. And so it's kind of fun. It's fun to sit and, write and shut the door and conjure up a world. But if you want immediate sort of creative sucker, then making a TV show, like being in a band and writing a song, that's the thing you want. You just get that immediate hit. And writing is a very, very, very slow release hit, I would say.
That's interesting.
That's amazing. So I had read somewhere that you are working on a fourth novel already for our favorite little murder club. And I'm literally doing that at the moment. Just started the fourth one. It's weird. Whenever a book comes out and you're having to talk about it and promote it, your brain is full of the next one because of the schedule. You've always just started when the other one comes out. So yeah, I'm writing the fourth one at the moment. And I've just signed up to do 2 more Thursday Murder Club books as well. So there'll be 6 at least. But I've also signed up to do a new series of books as well. So yeah, my next thing, I'll do two Thursday Murder Clubs and two of a new series. So which would be more of a conventional detective book, I think. Someone who can sit at a desk and someone can bring them a plot, and just say, can you solve this for me? So yeah, the Thursday Murder Club is going to be around for a long time to come, but hopefully there'll be some other people having other adventures soon too.
Are they going to intertwine at all?
Well, it's funny. I was talking about that the other day to someone, and I don't think they would intertwine, but I certainly feel they would exist in the same universe, which is the universe of Great Britain in 2022. I really try and root my books in a time and in a reality. I like them to be set today in a certain place, and some people shy away from that. They like things to be a bit more universal, but I love, if I read a book set in 1930s America, I absolutely love it. And the more specific you can be about where the people are shopping and what they're doing and what they're reading, I love that. It's like archaeology, just sort of reading that stuff. So I try and write about the world outside my door, and in 50 years time, if someone wants to know what 2022 Britain is like, then hopefully they'll get a sense from my books.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm excited for more Thursday Murder Club, and then the new one too. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Do you enjoy or is it easier to come up with the whole plot of the entire book, or is it easier to find ways to slip clues in, and what's that sort of process?
Yeah, I like knowing where I'm going. I like to know where I'm ending up, essentially. So I always have an idea for a world and an inciting crime and where we finish. So that I've got. And yeah, the fun then is filling in the gaps, really. is sort of knowing where you've got to go. But I'm not a planner. I don't write down what every single thing that's going to happen and how everything connects to everything. I just sort of plow on and write the next scene and the next scene and the next scene. And sometimes that takes you on quite a scenic route to where you're going. And within that scenic route, you can hide red herrings, but you can also hide the actual real clues. You know, that's the point, is when you're constantly surprising yourself as a writer, firstly, you're constantly surprising the reader, but secondly, you give yourself so many avenues to hide the things that you need to hide. And, you know, part of the secret of a mystery writer is you do have to hide stuff, because you've got to, I have to tell you the solution. You know, when it happens, it has to be, oh, I already told you this. I already gave you every single bit of information you needed to put this together. And that's the joy of a crime fiction book, is when you look back over and you just go, oh yeah, he told me. He absolutely told me. I thought he was talking about something else and I wasn't concentrating, but he absolutely told me. And, you know, that's the thing that I love doing. Just hiding things away is great fun.
Those are always so much fun to go back and be like, it was in plain sight this entire time.
Right. Yeah. And then you can feel like a mastermind.
Yeah.
But, you know, the fascinating thing is, but what you don't do is go back and look over all the red herrings that were also in plain sight. Because, you know, so, you know, that's the fascinating, that's why people give more kudos, I think, to plotting than plotting deserves. Because when you go back, you just go, oh yeah, I see that, the path through. But what you don't look back on is the other paths that I sort of lead you halfway up, and then they get abandoned or they lead somewhere else. And the second I realized with crime fiction that you can reverse engineer things sometimes, that you can have this solution and then you think, hold on a minute, if in a previous scene I said this, that would look so clever, and you can do that. And then suddenly you're like, oh, that you can make a plot look incredibly complicated when actually it was incredibly simple. I'm reading an old Agatha Christie at the moment called Towards Zero, which I'm really enjoying. And the one thing I think all the time now when I read crime fiction or read the older crime fiction is I have to remember. I love those bits when they seem complicated. You think, oh my God, anyone could have done it. There's so much stuff going on. How is this ever going to be sorted out? And you have to remember that the writer all the way through knows what's going to happen. They know exactly what's happening in the end. And so they're not having to juggle this stuff the whole time. They're not having to go, it could be this person, it could be that person. They know who it is. And so all the way through, all they're doing is suggesting it might be other people and trying to cleverly hide the fact of the person that it is. And so actually what seems complicated is actually sort of simple, because if you knew right from the start of the book, which a writer does know, then actually the complicatedness falls away.
I love that. Are you drawing on a lot of Agatha Christie for inspiration? I feel like it's the second time you've brought her up, and we love her.
Oh well, yeah. I just think it's very hard to be British and a crime fiction fan and not love Agatha Christie and what she did, and particularly the things. You know, sometimes my books get called cozy crime, and I sort of think I sort of see what you mean. They've got like a cozy wrapping, but in the same way that Agatha Christie got called cozy crime, and you read some of them, and you think, I mean, there's some bad stuff going on in these books. There's some brutal murder. You know, there's some very, very dark motives, and there's a lot of evil lurking under sort of, you know, leafy English lanes. And I think the real sweet spot is if you can write a book that feels like it's a cozy mystery, and makes you think, oh, this would be nice, and then really bad stuff happens, which people secretly love. Then I think that's a combination that people find very appealing. But it's a combination that, you're exactly right, comes directly from Agatha Christie.
Do you have a favorite book of hers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very hard to beat the mechanic in And Then There Were None. It's very difficult to write a crime story with a better twist than that. And also, it's fascinating. I love the setup to Why Didn't They Ask Evans, right? The start of that book, and someone says, why didn't they ask Evans? And there's your plot, right? Now, it doesn't really hold up, and the fact that person would have said it and where it goes in the end, but it's such a brilliant setup to a book that you cannot do anything other than keep reading that book, because you've been asked such a direct question by Agatha Christie, which is, why didn't they ask Evans? And you don't know who Evans is, and you want to know why they didn't ask her. And so she can sort of take you anywhere on that journey. To go, Agatha, I am sticking around to find out why they didn't ask Evans, just so you know. And that's again one of her sort of particular bits of genius is she messes about with plot so well.
Do you have any other authors that sort of inspire you?
Inspire me. It's a really interesting one. There's loads of people I love, and loads of people that I wish I could write like. I love Ian Rankin. I love Dennis Lehane. There's all of these people who I just think that's the other interesting thing when you start writing a book and you just think, oh God, well, I'm never going to be Kate Atkinson or Ian Rankin. And you have to say to yourself, yeah, good, because they already exist. So, you don't need to be them. You need to be yourself. And for the first book, certainly, I found it quite hard to read contemporary fiction because I was thinking either I'm reading something good, in which case I'm finding it demoralizing, or I'm reading something bad, and you shouldn't really fill your head with bad literature when you're writing. Now I feel, because I have a bit more confidence in my voice, and I sort of feel I have a place, and I have a furrow that I can plow. Now I'm back at the stage where I can start reading all books again, and that's really lovely. And read, I can read Ian Rankin. I read crime writers in a different way. Now I've written crime as well, which is really, really interesting. In a way, I wish I didn't. In a way, I wish I could go back to my innocence. But now I'm sort of going, what are you up to? What's going on here? Who are you pointing me towards here? Crime fiction is my number one love, which is why I write it, and that's why I read it. Who would you guys be recommending at the moment?
I just read Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and have you read it?
Yes, I read it. I read it. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because the plot is kind of what you were talking about, where it's almost she's reverse engineering as part of the plot line, but doesn't know. And so I loved that. It was so unique. That's one I liked lately.
But that again, that's the fascinating thing. So I read that, and you really admire it, but again, it feels so infinitely complicated.
Yeah.
But actually, to write, I suspect it probably wasn't, because she knows what happens.
Right. Exactly.
It is complicated. It's a brilliant achievement, and it's a great book, but it's not that sort of, you just think, oh my God, how did anyone do that? Because she knows what's going on right from the start, from page one. She knows exactly what's happened and where it's going to be revealed. So she has something to hold on to at least. But the joy as a reader is you don't have that same thing that she had, and so you're constantly hurtling backwards through time in a very satisfying way.
Yeah.
So interesting, because we've talked with other authors who sometimes don't know how their books are going to end. So it's so interesting to hear you kind of have that perspective of knowing what's going to happen in the end. It's just a matter of the steps leading up to that.
But occasionally I don't. Occasionally I'll change what happens. But the interesting thing with crime fiction that, again, I didn't realize until I wrote it, is you can change your killer, because one of the things you're doing in crime fiction is you're making sure that everyone is a suspect. That's one of the pieces of crime fiction, is try not to rule anyone out. Anyone who appears in your book should be there for a reason. And usually it's you want to suspect them in one way or another. So if you get to the end of the book, you think, oh, actually, I've got a really nice idea for a twist, but it changes who the killer is. It's not, you don't have to then go back and unravel everything, because if you've done it right, then you point the finger of suspicion to that person anyway. So you've only got to change a couple of little things, and you can completely change your killer, which is why there's so many great sort of twists at the end of detective books, because you can change them on the final day you're writing them. You can literally go, no, actually, hold on a minute, why don't I turn this screw one more time, and we'll change the killer, because you pointed at that killer all the way through. And all you've got to do is block up a couple of avenues for the person who was going to be the killer, and open up a couple of avenues for the person who is your killer, and the job's done.
Brilliant.
It is.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Richard Osman, for talking with us today. This has been amazing, and cannot wait to talk more about your new book. So,
such an absolute pleasure. Thank you both.
Thank you so
much. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.